Good evening, everybody. We apologize for being a few minutes late here, but we're ready to get started on our village board meeting for the Village of Arlington Heights, which is for December 15, 2025. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. And our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd mind joining us all. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Maggie, if you could please call the roll.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Here.
Trustee Gilbert?
Here.
Trustee Manganaro?
Here.
Trustee Dunnington?
Here.
Trustee LaBedz?
Here.
Trustee Bertucci?
Here.
Trustee Zyck?
Here.
Trustee Santa Maria? President Tinaglia?
Here. Thank you, Maggie. And I do believe that Trustee Santa Maria will be joining us shortly, so we'll make a note of that when she arrives. Next item of business is approval of minutes, and we do have one set from 12/1/25. Are there any changes or additions or passes that need to be made on this?
Pass for me. I was not there.
Pass for Trustee LaBedz. That'll be noted. Anyone in the audience, any comments or questions on the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the December 1st, 2025 meeting minutes.
Motion made by Trustee Schwingbeck.
Second.
Second by Trustee Dunnington. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Okay. And then next would be item 5, and that is approval of accounts payable, the warrant register for 12/15/25, and I'll call on Trustee Bertucci for that.
Mayor, I'll move approval of the warrant register for the check date December 15th, 2025, in the amount of $5,853,138.44.
Second.
Motion made by Trustee Bertucci, seconded by Trustee Zyck. Any other questions or comments on the warrant register? If not, this is a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Bertucci?
Yes.
Trustee Zyck?
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes.
Trustee Manganaro?
Aye.
Trustee Dunnington?
Yes.
Trustee Gilbert?
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
President Tinaglia?
Yes. All right, motion carries. Thank you. There are no recognitions or communications tonight or public hearings. Under citizens to be heard, I have a handful of blue cards now. Consent agenda. I'm going to call on these 3 individuals, and the point here is that if it's an item on an agenda item, then we should take that during the agenda. Actually, now I have 4th card. If this is for something that's not on the agenda, feel free to come on up. So, snow removal, that's consent agenda. Okay, we'll leave that one there. 4B, that's consent agenda. That's consent agenda. Okay, these are all consent agenda items. So is there anyone here that wants to speak on something not on the agenda that did not fill out a card? Seeing none? Okay, and I think we're going to close that section.
Mayor.
Did I see a hand? Oh, there is one.
I'm sorry, I was in the wrong meeting earlier, but yes, I'm turning in a blue card.
Okay, why don't you come on up? Now's your time. You can fill that out later. And I should share that typically we allow 3 minutes, and there'll be a clock going up there for you to watch.
Can you hear me okay?
You can bend that upward a little bit.
I'm good. Hi, my name's Kendall Schaefer. I live on South Douglas, right next to Prairie Park. I am 2 blocks, let me repeat this, 2 blocks from a tent pop-up that has happened on Arlington Heights Road. I have exchanged emails with the village, and I've gotten a lot of really good information back and know what I'm working with. I was very saddened to hear that Full Circle Communities, the company that none of us in our neighborhood thought was a good work partner for our village, and not the right location, obviously, because I'm 2 blocks away. And I know the impacts that this is going to do to my family financially. I I retired 3 years ago. Guess what? I'm looking for a job now because I'm afraid of the value of my home, one of my largest investments. I'll stop. This is happening. The village, the residents, everybody needs to know that this is going on. You can do what you want to stop this. But if Full Circle is allowing these people to live on their property, I don't know. Somebody can tell me at some point, is this really a partner that we want to work with that is letting homeless people live on their property in tents? I talked to the police on Sunday. I've got pictures. It's right there. This is not making up any stories here. I was informed by the police department that there was a gentleman that was living there. It appears about 2 days ago, he was wanted on something and he's subsequently been arrested and he's vacated that tent. There's another tent there. I think there might be a third one. I'm not personally going to go out in the snow and go look. I could see it from the road. I put my flashers on and I can see what's going on. Please, we can't let this happen to the village. You need to keep communicating to us as what's going on. I have notified Daily Herald. Just don't allow this to happen to our beautiful village. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kendall. Is there anyone else that I missed that wanted to raise their hand for public comments? Yes, go right ahead. Come up and introduce yourself.
Hi there, my name is Alexis McAdams, and on the card I had mentioned snow removal, but it was really just a kudos I wanted to give to Public Works. Thank you so much for all your work with all of the
Okay,
crazy
wait.
snow that we've gotten.
Which one are you?
Alexis McAdams is my name.
Oh, I see it. Okay.
I do
Alexis?
have comments on a item later on in the agenda, but the snow removal one, I just want to say thank you so much to Public Works. And then just one little thing though, for the rail crossing where the tracks meet Ridge before it turns into Walnut, I've already messaged Metra about like snow clearance on those sidewalks, but I don't really know whose jurisdiction it is for the sidewalks that cross the tracks there, if it's Metra or the village. But those have been a little messy and icy lately. So, but otherwise, great job, Public Works. Thanks.
Right. Alexis, do you still want me to call upon you for the consent agenda item, or does this cover it?
Yes, for the consent agenda, I'd like to
Okay,
talk again.
will do. All right. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. We're going to move on then into the consent agenda. And this is where we're going to vote on a total of 6 items at max, unless someone from the village board would like to remove one. So the first thing I'll ask, is there anyone on the village board that would like to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Yes.
Trustee Zyck.
Yes, Mayor. I would like to remove A, resolution approving a purchase agreement with Axon Enterprise.
Okay, that shall be removed and talked about separately. Any others from anyone? Trustee Dunnington.
Thank you. I would also like to remove item D.
D. That will also be removed and discussed separately. Anyone else for any other items? Is there anyone that, oh, I see
Yes,
another
please.
hand. Go ahead.
I'd like to remove item E, awarding the contract for the lead service line replacement.
Okay. That will be removed. Okay. We're down to 3 items. Anything else? Is there anyone that would like to vote no or pass on the other 3 items for any reason? Is there anyone from the audience who would like a trustee to remove an additional item off of this list for discussion? Seeing no hands, okay. I think what I would like to also do is recognize that Trustee Santa Maria is here, and so she can be called in as on the record. So I'd like to have a motion for items B, C, and F.
I would make a motion of approval of items B, C, and F of the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, so a motion made by Trustee LaBedz, seconded by Trustee Santa Maria. Now, before we move into voting on this, I do have Alexis, Viola, Rob, and Megan. Are there any questions on any of those three items that you want to discuss, or are they on the items that are already pulled off? Okay, I see none. Okay, all right, very good. So, I'm sorry?
She has a question, but she can make a comment if she wants, I guess.
Yeah, you're welcome to make a comment. Come on up to the podium if you'd like. Introduce yourself, please.
Viola Caseberg. I live in Arlington Heights for the last 20 years. I do have quite a few questions regarding Action B, the salary of village manager. I was looking at the data. So my question, the first question would be, how do you specify the metrics for your increase of salary?
What we're going to ask you to do is go through your questions and complete them, and then we'll decide if we're going to answer those here, or we may ask someone to get back to us with answers.
Okay.
So go ahead and give us everything you've got for 3 minutes.
Okay. How are the metrics? What are the key accomplishments of the village manager last few years? First of all, why there was increase since 2020? There was 5% increase. There was 7% increase. There was 7% increase in salary, and there was 5% increase, where the inflation wasn't even higher than 4%. How are we justifying those kind of increases every year, and the manager getting over $300,000 a year, and then he is asking us to increase salary because the budget is not it's not paired. It's right now in negative. How are we justifying that increase? How are we justifying the $15,000 in bonus? That is 50% increase since last year. How are we doing? Why are we paying when you're asking 2.5% increase in taxes? Why would we have to pay for that? It's obnoxious and it's irresponsible. If anyone who votes yes, shame on you. You're asking us to pay more for taxes, but you giving him more money. What is annual vehicle? $7,200 a year? For what? Using a vehicle? How? What company gives that much money for vehicle? Longevity? $900? What is that? Why are we paying those irrational money for him, and then he's asking us to get 2.5% in tax increases? I looked at the Arlington Heights census data. 20% of villagers are seniors. What do you think they're going to do with the taxes increase? 50% is between 18 and 65. The median household income in Arlington Heights is 118. I know my time is up.
Yes.
Yes.
Please wrap up.
And okay, I'm wrapping up. So median income is 118. He wants over 300,000. I don't think that's okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Viola, for your points. And I will tell you this, that I personally have, and I know Trustee LaBedz has been here with me the entire time, nothing that this board has done with raises for a single employee, whether it be a management or another employee who drives a truck. There has been no frivolous or wasteful wage increases for anyone. And every single time that we've discussed an increase or bonus for anyone, it was with you virtually, if not every time, almost every single time, unanimous approval from this board. So if there's shame to be given, it's shame all the way across the board here, but I would argue that none of us feel shameful for it because of the work that these folks do every day to make your life and my life safe and comfortable. And without them, we would not have that. So I will take your comments and advisement. I appreciate your sincerity and your passion, but we did what we believe is correct for all the right reasons. Again, I'm going to repeat, Alexis or Megan or Rob, are there more questions on these three items at all, or no? Forgot where we are now.
We have a motion
Someone has
and a second for.
I see a hand up back there.
ECNF.
Are you wishing to speak on items B, C, or F?
Well, we can't.
I can't hear you. What, come on up, come on up. I don't want to cut you off. Come on up. We're still on these, right?
Thank you for your patience. I was like writing down my comment to make sure I had it like all articulated during the period earlier, but can I still make public comment if my comment is unrelated to any of the items?
Go ahead.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you. I'll make it very quick. So I have two things I wanted to comment on. My name is Megan, by the way. The first is a request for the village board to continue clearing sidewalks of snow. So I walk through Arlington Heights very often. A few weeks ago, I had to walk around the Marianos on South Dryden to get to professional training, and I had a hard time walking. Admittedly, I was wearing summer shoes, but even then it was difficult. The sidewalks in East Kensington were covered with ice and snow. I had to walk along the side of the road, and the trucks and cars drove very close to me. And then when I was on the sidewalk, I was ankle deep in snow. So it wasn't safe for the drivers, and it wasn't safe for me. Also, anecdotally, like drivers in Arlington Heights tend to be very forward when they're driving. Like sometimes people will just kind of like take right of way, even though I'm like standing there on the side. So my point being that like some Arlington Heights has like great sidewalks, but sometimes like it can be challenging to navigate as a pedestrian. So I would like to please ask the village board to continue clearing sidewalks of ice and snow and to salt them regularly to make Arlington Heights like safe for pedestrians like myself. Thank you very much. And I have a second comment on the ordinance from the last meeting about federal law enforcement. I just wanted to publicly say that I support that ordinance. I do also think that we should do more. I say that because I believe America is a nation of immigrants made by immigrants. And I am like sitting and I'm watching, like reading the news of ICE arresting people nationwide illegally without judicial warrants, without due process. It does not sit right with me. And I just wanted, like, we learned about this in school. It doesn't sit right with me to see this happening to people. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Megan. I'll do you one better. I'll share with you that we'll make sure that our public sidewalks are clean for the property that we own as a village, and I know that our Public Works works on that. But my one better is I'll make a plea to anyone at home who owns commercial property or residential property. Please, please do your sidewalks. We cannot do everybody's sidewalks, so people who own property have to do theirs. So that's my gift to you for Christmas, that we ask our residents and business owners to clean their sidewalks, please. Okay? All right, that's all I think I have here. We have a motion and a second. I don't see any of the additional hands on items B, C, and F. We need a roll call for this.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Santa Maria?
Yes.
Trustee Gilbert?
Yes.
Trustee Bertucci?
Yes.
Trustee Manganaro?
Aye.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes.
Trustee Dunnington?
Yes.
Trustee Zyck?
Yes.
President Tinaglia?
Yes. All right, so those three pass, and Manager Recklow, should we run through these one at a time then, starting with A and then D and then E, or do we need to come back to
If
that?
they've been pulled, I think that will probably be appropriate, but we can do it in any order that.
All right,
the
let's
board
go
would
ahead and
wish.
do that right now. Item A was removed by Trustee Zyck.
Yes.
You have the floor.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, everybody. The reason why I wanted to pull this one out is because I want to have a little bit more discussion or transparency, perhaps. with Axum, and I understand, this is something that we do for the body cameras. This is a contract for the body cameras that we're going to be bringing up. It's a $3.1 million contract that we have for 5 years, so 600,000 or so, that we're talking about per year. What I'd like to talk about, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about, are really three things. One, why are we doing this at this particular time? Because our particular contract does end in December, I believe, of 2026, if I have that right. Are there alternatives? And funding for this. How are we looking at funding for this particular mandate? And I understand this is a mandate that is something that is done by the state. We have to have this, we have to do this, and it is the right thing, but just a little bit more of an understanding of the whys behind this particular one.
Go ahead.
I'm going to take a first crack at it, and then I know we've got Chief Pecor and Deputy Chief Zernacki that can jump in if I
Sure, go right ahead.
need further detail. So as Trustee Zyck said, body-worn cameras are something that's required by state law. Axon, the agreement we have with them is not just body-worn cameras, but also our dash cams and our tasers are all kind of within that overall umbrella. So back in 2021, this was vetted. We looked at a number of vendors because you have to remember the body-worn cameras, it isn't just the camera itself. There are very specific rules and regulations on how long that data needs to be stored. We need to be able to quickly access it for FOIA requests and for our own investigative purposes. But then also it has to integrate well with other software such as Fusus, which is our way of accessing data, our FOIA software. It's something that's integrated with, again, the dash cams and the body cams are integrated. So there's a number of items that are looked at. This is really kind of part of a system, if you will. It's not as simple as buying a product or buying a commodity like, road salt or aggregate or something like that. It's an overall system that was evaluated. And so Axon outperformed all of the other competitors that were examined at that time. They have since become one of really an industry leader, and they have captured a very significant part of the market. And so what that means is a lot of their products, and they continue to purchase other entities and operate seamlessly with one another. And so this has resulted in a lot of ease of use for our employees, but we've had to train on these things. We work with with Northwest Central Dispatch on these items. So it's part of an overall system. So when we're looking to renew, it's not as simple as saying, okay, we're going to put out a bid and see whether we're going to get, Dodges or Fords. We aren't in a position right now where we're looking to restart that process and reevaluate all 6 of the other software packages that integrate with it. It's more analogous to looking at, are you going to switch from, Microsoft Windows PCs to Apple? It's not a decision you would take lightly. And so really that's the one thing I want to set up. As for how these things how this is done, they typically don't offer contracts less than 5 years. And we're able to realize some savings by getting into this contract sooner. And that's the reason that we're looking at this time. And so Chief Pecor or Deputy Chief Zernacki wants to talk a little bit about that particular timing of this. And correct anything I may have said incorrect.
No, you're all spot on.
All right.
Good evening. I can just add a little bit of a backstory. In 2008 was the first time that the police department engaged with then Taser. Since then, Taser has grown to a municipal leader in law enforcement technology now called Axon. And they've taken that electromuscular conductive Taser and grown it into something that we can't live without. They provide our body camera, which is a state mandated function. They provide evidence.com, which is the cloud-based software or hosting for the digital evidence. That is exclusively used by the Cook County State's Attorney's Office. We can't send a digital link to the state's attorney except through evidence.com. They won't accept anything from another user's platform. Our dash cams are an Axon product, and they integrate with the body camera, and they also go to evidence.com. Fusus, which is our real-time information center base software program. That was a one-off that we went to a couple years ago that was funded through an Illinois Attorney General's grant. Axon has acquired Fusus now, and that's part of the reason the cost has gone up, because that's $150,000 a year. That has been paid through an Illinois Attorney General's grant, and it continued to be paid through 2027. So although it is a $3.1 million contract, there's a lot of grant-funded opportunities in that to bring the cost down to the Arlington Heights taxpayer. In addition, we are aggressively seeking grant-funded opportunities to offset the cost of the $3.1 million. We are about to submit a grant to the Illinois Law Enforcement Training Standards Board to help recoup the money for the unmandated or the mandated unfunded body-worn camera in the amount of $600,000. And that will help offset the costs over the 5 years of this proposed grant. This proposed contract. We took a look at the opportunity to do a different type of a contract, and it doesn't happen in the Midwest. Our neighbors have a 10-year contract with Axon. We're opting for a 5-year contract to make sure that we're fiscally responsible, and we make sure that we have a cost negotiation clause in that contract after a 2-year benchmark appears, to make sure, again, that we're paying for what we get, and it's a market price, and it's not a predetermined cost that another competitor could offer us at a well-discounted price. Yes, we look for alternatives in the marketplace, and there is not one that provides a tier 1 software platform that hosts the 6 or 7 different individual suites that talk together. It would be a logistical nightmare if we had to go out and do an RFP or an RFQ for each of those 7 different platforms and then bring them back, figure out how they're going to integrate, and then I just wait for the backlash and the morale back at the station, where I'd have to tell 140 different people, guess what? Everything you learned about Axon, put it in the garbage. Now we've got 7 new platforms that we have to learn. That's kind of the high level, what I'm thinking about when it comes to Axon and taking this tier 1 provider and suggesting to the village that it is the preferred software of the police department to help us comply with the unfunded mandate and to move our police department forward in the most effective and efficient manner.
Chief, when we think about some of the neighboring suburbs and our own specific needs, is this price somehow evaluated on the number of officers? How do they come up with a price for Arlington Heights? Is it size?
It's per user.
It's per
so
user.
It's per license.
Yeah.
So there's 110 police officers, plus we have some public service officers that are out there engaged in parking enforcement. We want them to be covered with the body camera as well. So we pay per license, per body camera, and the same thing with the squad cars. We have a finite number of squad cars that have dash cams on. And then there's an algorithm for the amount of storage that these particular pieces of technology will produce. And there's a cost factor for keeping that data in the cloud. Same thing with the taser. The taser is a per unit cost. Fusus is a cost that will give us so many streams and allow us to put, the hospitals and the schools and some hotels and some liquor stores on our radar. In the event they call 911, we're able to go to the real-time information center and pull up that store to see what's happening in there, whether there's an armed robbery in progress or whether it's a false alarm, and we can give that information to the responding officers so they know what they're going into. So again, Axon is good at what they do, and that's why we're recommending them. And yes, the costs are based on licensing and users.
So the last piece of that question, there's really no reason to think that we're paying more than another community nearby when it comes to a per user basis. Everybody's paying about the same, right?
It is, and we talk to our vendor to make sure that we're getting the best use out of the taxpayer dollars. And yes, Axon is on Sourcewell, a state bid contract, but we negotiated with them, and they said that the price that we're offering you is well below the state bid. So
it's even better.
It's better than that. So I
guess I
didn't
expect
ask
that
our
from
neighbors what they paid for it, but I hope we're getting something better than what our neighbors did.
All right, all right.
Mayor, I have-
Well, let me ask Trustee Zyck, are there other questions that you want to?
More comments than questions, 'cause I think we covered a lot of the questions that I had. I wanted to
I have
thank
the
you for
wrong-
taking the time to go through this with me earlier today. I recalled at that time that you made a comment about Axon and the lack of competition within this space when we were going through the budget process. And when you reminded me of the acquisition of Fusus and so forth, and the fact that the Cook County State's Attorney's Office will only accept this one systems input was very, very helpful for me to gain more comfort with what we're spending. And I appreciate the value of it to public safety. And so thank you again for taking the time to better educate myself and other members of the board. You mentioned, Chief, that the Illinois Attorney General office is providing another grant for this. Is that defraying the amount on this contract, or is it keeping the contract as low as it is currently?
So no, it's going to defray the cost. So we have allocated $140,000 for the state's fiscal year 26, 27. So that money has been awarded to us. We haven't received it because we have to show that we expended it. So once we pay Axon, and we can show that we paid them $140,000 towards the Fusus end of their contract, we can submit that receipt or proof of payment to the Illinois Attorney General and get that grant award back to the Village of Arlington Heights to offset the $3.1 million.
Thank you. That's all I got.
Trustee Zyck.
I don't have any other questions, but just a couple of comments if I can. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Village Manager, for your overall. What I'm hearing here and what I've seen here is that Axon, by using them, because they tie everything together, the efficiency that it gives our department. So it's something that's actually good. It's helping us move smoother and do your job a little bit easier, from what I'm understanding. By doing this a year earlier, also, it's providing us actually with some cost relief because, as we know, prices keep going up. And by doing this and taking advantage of this is a good thing at this particular point. And then lastly, you talk about the grants. This is a mandate that we've been given by the state that we have to figure out and we have to get taken care of. And I thank you for use your words, aggressively going after the grant to be able to offset that and to help the taxpayer here. So for me, there's actually a lot of good here that's going on, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this out, because I think this is a sign of something that we have to do, and it's responsible for your team and also for everybody in the village, and we're doing this the right way and making the right decisions on it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I add just a couple of quick comments for
You may.
context? So, I think there's a couple of trends that we have to be mindful of. On the one hand, obviously, law enforcement as an industry, a lot of industries, we're going towards more and more software-based, more digital information. So that's one thing. There's another trend towards interoperability between departments, where it's getting more and more important to work with neighboring jurisdictions, to work with centralized dispatch, to get speed, so you can transfer information quickly from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. And so what's happening is there's a lot of norming going on in the industry where law enforcement agencies are tending to gravitate towards certain products, because if every department had a different product, it would run against that interoperability concept. And so what happens then, because we live in a capitalist system, is those companies end up getting more and more market share, and it's harder and harder to change those companies. Now, as long as they're performing well, which in Axon's case, and we're talking about Flock in a minute, generally when we're happy with those products, it's fine. But there is a broader issue in the industry that I think it's not something we're going to be able to deal with here in Arlington Heights, but it is a narrative that I think has to be addressed industry-wide because of that. But it's not happening for any nefarious reason. It's happening because communities are working together more. And the ability to work together more is getting more and more important in today's world, particularly in law enforcement. I just want to make that comment.
Thanks, Manager Recklouse. Any other questions? Trustee Schwingbeck?
Mayor, do we want to take care of these one at a time? Can I make a motion?
You may.
I would move that we approve a resolution approving a purchase agreement with Axon Enterprise Incorporated.
Second.
Motion made by trustee Schwingbeck, seconded by trustee LaBedz. Further discussion? Trustee Bertucci?
Just a comment and piggyback on mostly what Village Manager Recklaus said and what also Chief Pecora. When my research on this item, and I didn't feel the need to bring it up, but because of what you're talking about, the market share and what they have, 85% of body-worn cameras in the marketplace are Axon. Wouldn't that be correct, gentlemen? 94% of American law enforcement agencies use Axon. So that's what you gentlemen are up against, as far as from what I'm understanding. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, was there anyone from the audience that wanted to ask a question or speak on this particular item before we vote on it and close it out? Nope, don't see any hands. I'm looking at the cards here. I think we're good. Roll call?
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Santa Maria?
Yes.
Trustee Bertucci?
Yes.
Trustee Gilbert?
Yes.
Trustee Zyck?
Yes.
Trustee Dunnington?
Yes.
Trustee Manganaro?
Aye.
President Tinaglia?
Yes. Okay, so that motion carries. The next one is item D, and that was trustee Dunnington, so I'll call on trustee Dunnington.
Thank you, Mayor. I took this item off the agenda because locally there has been some issues with flock cameras and license plate sharing devices. And so I thought that it was really important that we make sure that we carefully look through this contract. Trustee Manganaro and I had a really good conversation today with a representative from Flock who was able to answer a lot of questions. But I think that because of some local communities that have decided to not use Flock, like Evanston and Oak Park, as well as some cities in other states, from Texas to New York to Oregon and Florida, I think it's just really important that we really understand the contract. We know how we can best protect residents, and that it is the best for Arlington Heights. I know that the police department feels like it's a very important tool that they need, but today we were able to talk about some items that we could potentially add to the contract to make it better. So I have a couple of questions for the police and probably also for the representative too, as well. Should I go ahead with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chief, if you can come back up.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Just to introduce, everybody knows Deputy Chief Zernicki, but joining me is Kristen McLeod. She's the Public Affairs Senior Manager with Flock Safety.
Great, thank you so much.
Welcome.
So one item that we learned about today, which I believe that you probably just recently learned about too, was the transparency portal that is now available from Flock. And that's something that we could add to our website, which would give residents more information about who we're sharing our data with, and also how many searches are done, and just more information. Could you talk more about that transparency portal? Great.
Excuse me, absolutely, yes. So the transparency portal is free for all of our law enforcement customers, and it's a Flock-generated, public-facing webpage that provides, just as Trustee Dunnington was mentioning, important information to your community members about what the LPR system is, what it does, what it doesn't do, what are acceptable and prohibited uses of the system. You can share all of the external agencies that you're allowing access to your camera network, so other law enforcement agencies that you're working with collaboratively to solve crime, and some high-level statistics. how many unique vehicles have passed by cameras in your community in the last 30 days, how many searches have been conducted, and also how many hot list alerts. So again, just a great way to share information about how the system is being used by the department with your community.
Great, thank you. And so one ask is that if we could add that, if that could be a policy that, so that we add that to our website.
We'd be happy to entertain that if that's the will of the board.
Great. And then we also learned about the search feature, which, so if someone that had authorization to do a search would use a drop-down menu of why that they're going to do the search. And then we could add the safety feature that there would be a case number added to it so that if there was an audit later, you could match up the case that you're investigating with the reason for the search. So I'm asking that we have a policy that we require that case number as part of the search.
Again, the same response. We'd be happy to do that if that's the will of the board. We can amend our policy.
Great. And I also wanted to ask how often we, as a police department, are conducting an audit of the records.
So with the audits, with the audits, we do periodic audits. Right now, we don't have it specified in our policy mandating that it's at least, monthly, quarterly, semi-annual. We don't have that in there, but they do happen frequently and often. So one of our administrative supervisors goes through there. We'll take a snapshot in time, take a look at what searches have been conducted and whether it conforms to our policy. But moving forward, we could standardize that a little bit better. It does happen on a regular basis right now. So it's not something that, we haven't done for a year. It does happen frequently. A lot of times those audits do happen if there's any requests for searches for, from our neighboring Illinois towns. We'll go through, see what the reason for that request is, and then we'll also do some audits internally here to make sure that not only are our people using it correctly and effectively and legitimately, but also anybody that has outside access, any other Illinois law enforcement agencies. So you take a look at both of them.
Could we commit to a once a month audit?
We could take a look at it once a month. That could be feasible. Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you. If you have more, go right ahead. I was going to make a comment on those couple of things, but go
Sure.
ahead.
Just two more items. The other is that other communities that have been concerned about data that has been shared illegally by some bad actors, they included in their contract that if there was data sharing that is against state law, that in their contract, it would require a penalty for data sharing, which would include a loss of access to the flock cameras, a referral to the Attorney General, as well as a $100,000 fine per incident, if that were to happen. So I'm asking if we can also include that in our contract.
Was there another one, or you said you had a couple more?
I think that was my last one, actually.
Okay. I was going to make this suggestion because there's a few items here that probably need some thinking and need to have some sorting out and clearly discussion amongst the board here. Manager Recklaus, could we commit to having a little committee of the whole presentation from management and the police department and Flock to educate all of us on this on a different evening, that we could then decide how to amend the contract at that point? Is that a reasonable approach or not?
Well, that's certainly reasonable for staff. I can't speak for our representative from Flock because I knew she flew out for this meeting. And so I don't know if she's going to be available for another meeting.
I don't know that she would have to be there. My point is I don't want to hold up the situation tonight.
Sure. There's no reason, to answer your question, Mayor, there's no reason this vote has to take place this evening. If we wanted to defer this to another meeting to have a more thorough discussion, we certainly can do that if that's the will of the board.
Well, that wasn't what I was saying.
Oh,
I wasn't saying to avoid the vote tonight. I'm talking about for amending the contract to take care of some of these, I'll call this housekeeping, to make sure that certain items are done that the board decides are important to do without having to hold up anything. Is that Am I wrong here in thinking this way?
Are you suggesting that a vote be taken tonight, but then we amend it, or that we delay the vote until after that?
To continue on with the contract as you're asking us to do here tonight, right?
Well, if we were to change, essentially what we're looking for is a vote to approve a new contract. So we would need to know what the language is in the new contract in order to proceed.
Okay.
Now, we're operating right now outside of the contract, and that we're able to do that. It's not going to interrupt our service.
Okay, that's
If
what
we-
I was
If we
worried
take
about.
an extra month to make sure that everyone is comfortable, if that's what the
Okay.
rule of the board is.
That's what I was concerned with. All right, so what we could do is defer this one tonight, go through these things on another committee of the whole meeting, and then make a decision, and it won't affect our ability to carry on business as usual. Am I correct?
Correct.
All right. Okay. That was my question. Okay.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead.
If we defer this and to a month or so, what happens if we decide or our contract changes aren't accepted by Flock? What would be the ramifications
Well,
of that?
I think clearly if the other side doesn't agree to the changes, then there's no agreement. And so I think if I'm hearing the board correctly is, there's some issues that have been raised that we can discuss with Flock in the interim to make sure that, and make sure that they're comfortable with it, or we can assess to what extent they're comfortable with it, come up with some language. So then when we have this next conversation with the board, it can be fully fleshed out and make sure that we include the sentiments as raised by the board here. I mean, is everyone comfortable with that?
Yeah, and my whole point is, I know Trustee Dunnington's passionate about this. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page and we're all educated equally on this.
Right.
I didn't have the benefit of having the conversation with you today.
Right.
So I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to get it and then decide on a vote. But Mr. Passman, does this make sense legally to do? Okay. Trustee Zyck?
Yeah, Mayor, I just want to concur with that sentiment. I think this is something, it's important. So it's something, let's get more of the information. Let's figure out what the contract is going to look like. And at that point, obviously, contract negotiations, if there is some issue there, we'll get it figured out. And as long as it's not stopping the service and stopping the police department from doing what they need to do, I think it makes sense for us to hold off for tonight.
Anybody else? Trustee Bertucci?
The only other thing that I would want to add is that I would also be interested in not only the information, so to speak, and what Trustee Dunnington is asking for, but I'd also like the opinion of the village manager and the police chief and anybody else on those changes. We certainly respect your opinions, and I think they would be helpful in the discussion.
I would add, above all, safety. Safety and law enforcement above all. But let's be reasonable about things and let's make sure that we get educated and then we'll go forward. How fast can this be done? Or how fast does it need to be done? Let's put it that way.
We can do this either at the, would normally be the second meeting in January. The first meeting likely is going to be canceled. We also have a couple of items already on that cow meeting, but we probably could put that on. But I mean, I think we can probably get something in writing to the board pretty quickly, and I'd say the next couple of weeks. Is that maybe by the end of the year or early 2026? Is
Certainly.
that fair?
Yeah. You've heard commentary. If you can prepare a response or
Absolutely.
a recommendation, as Trustee Bertucci suggested, and then we can all weigh in on it a little bit, that makes good sense.
Happy to, and obviously, if other trustees have comments, questions, concerns, they always can communicate that to my office, and we'll put that.
Does
in next
everybody
as well.
have his email address? Trustee Gilbert.
Thank you for being here. I'm sorry I didn't catch your name.
Kristen McLeod.
Kristen, thank you for flying out. Really appreciate you being here. So as long as you're here, some of the things that Trustee Dunnington had mentioned in terms of contract negotiations and back and forth, this might not be something you know, but is that something that Flock has been able to do and work with and amend their contract with other cities and villages? And the reason I'm asking that is before we do the deep dive in the discussion, it'd be good to know if Flock is amenable to contract negotiations or if it's take it or leave it situation.
We're very open to discussions in conversation around the specific contract language or any amendments. I can't make any promises, but again, very open to conversation.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And Ms. McLeod, I wanted to thank you for making the time to talk, and Chief and Manager Recklaus for arranging it. It really was very informative. You did indicate a willingness to have further discussions regarding the concerns we raised. I think that you alleviated a good number of them for me. I know I still, and we all still have homework to do. One of the things we talked about today, and it would be my suggestion for staff and attorney that, and for my fellow board members, that we look to discuss this at a committee of the whole, and that when we bring it back, we make it a new business agenda item, because I believe a lot of the information that you gave us today would be very helpful for members of the public to better understand how we use this system, how critical it really is for our safety. I've just been through our Citizens Police Academy, and I got a little bit of a chance to see how it is used. But some of the education I've had in the past several days and from yourself today, I think would be beneficial for the public at large. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. I do also agree with postponing a vote on this until we can have a committee of the whole meeting. So I appreciate all the comments that have been made by my fellow board members and the questions that have been raised, because as I was reading through some of the material, I had some questions, even though I wasn't exactly in a position to raise some of the things. It was a little difficult time. I did raise my arm, yeah, but it isn't staying up for long. So I think this is a good approach, considering that we don't have to rush into taking a vote tonight. So
Okay.
I'm on board.
All right, wonderful. Anybody else? Anything else? Trustee Schwingbeck.
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to make I guess, a comment and a question, Chief. I mean, I hear you a lot say whatever the will of the board is, but I guess my two things with this particular item is, one, is it going to cause it, when I start hearing like more audits and things like that, those are cost drivers. So are these things, not really understanding them, going to add a lot of time and cost? Or are these things that you can just do rather simply?
It's going to take staff time, and it'll take somebody away from another mission. But if that's part of our SOP or our general order at the time, then we'll make time. And it may take 2 hours for a sergeant to review flock data from the last 30 days to make sure that everybody's in compliance with our policy.
Okay. Yeah, and I like when you say, whatever the will of the board is, I agree with some comments here. I would really like to hear what your thoughts are, rather than just running with something where we don't have a great understanding of it. So, thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think to really back that up, don't be shy with saying what you believe in, whether that's the village manager or our legal counsel or our police chief. What you believe is necessary should be part of your recommendation.
I appreciate that.
Okay?
Thanks.
Anybody else? If not, I think we're ready for no, we're just going to pass on this one right now. All right, so there's no vote for now, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I do have two blue cards that were on this subject, though. Rob Brodecki and Alexis McAdams. Do you guys want to share some thoughts on this before we move on?
Thank you. So I appreciate everybody taking the time to
You
discuss.
don't look like Alexis McAdams.
Good point. You want to start with Alexis?
No, I.
Hello again. I think I was just about to say the same thing you were going to say. I'm sorry about that. About thank you for the discussion about this. I had emailed some or all of you about some of the concerns I had, and I wanted to thank the couple of folks who did reply. I think tabling this for another time and gathering some more information is a really good idea. And I just wanted to say thank you to the board for that, as well as the discussions around transparency and other ways that we can amend the contract to make sure it's not only binding Flock, the private company, but protecting Arlington Heights. However, I do just want to add, as you're considering these changes to the contract and what the overall value of this product is to Arlington Heights, that transparency of a product that is still really flawed is an improvement, but sometimes if it's still a flawed thing that we don't want, like that can still be an option too. And I know you'll have a lot to think about with when more information comes out, but thinking about how recent news coverage has covered some of the missteps and bad actors that have been able to access the flock safety system, and more reporting continues to come out, just to keep all those things in mind. So I just want to say thank you for the consideration, and looking forward to hearing more from Flock.
Thank you, Alexis. Rob Brodecki, you are next.
All right. Thank you again. So kind of following up on what Alexis was saying there, and to kind of give light to some of those examples of how bad actors have used the Flock data sets that have been, I would ask that we also consider another option of not just amending the contract, but ending it outright and stopping our relationship with Flock. While I recognize the safety features that this technology can be used for, including catching speeders, which you all know me as Safe Streets guy, that's a big thing, but also, helping police find a potential missing person, those kind of things. In a world that we live in with an ever-encroaching surveillance and ever-encroaching on our privacy, we need to draw the line somewhere. And here's a good point. This is especially relevant as we just passed an ordinance to limit cooperation with ICE. And the AP put out an article a few weeks ago revealing how ICE has been using license plate tracking information and data sets like Flock to track people within the country, miles away from the border. And if their movements seem fishy, they have started to stop and detain people. Right? Per the ACLU, Flock software has been used to assist ICE in states like Oregon in actions like this. I know we're miles from an international borders, but once information is in a data set, we lose ability to have control over it. Further, we should not be spending our money as something that further invades our privacy and puts information about our residents into the hands of people who we don't know how the data will be used always, and who cannot guarantee that it will not end up being misused. The ACLU has been warning about the encroachment of surveillance from Flock and how officers and people throughout the country use it for nefarious means. For example, a Texas officer who tried to track a woman across the nation because she had an abortion. I'm not suggesting our officers would ever do anything like that. Right? But between how people are already using this data set for intrusive means and how Flock is starting to partner with private organizations to use the data set, we definitely shouldn't be paying someone to turn Arlington Heights into a part of a mass surveillance network, especially without most of the residents even knowing it's happening. After this came up, I noticed that just on my street on Campbell, that there is looks to be a camera like this for Flock, just at the intersection of Wilkie and Campbell, which I go by every day for work. Again, according to ACLU, Flock is also moving on towards using AI and their video data to analyze movement and warn of potential suspicious behavior. All right, this is that Tom Cruise movie Minority Report becoming real. This is the dystopia that sci-fi has been warning us about for years. I know it's kind of, sensational, but let's not make it real here. The Flock representative explained, and we're talking about making amendments to add transparency, which is great, but in the end, there is no way that they can actually guarantee that once they have the data, it won't one day be abused. And again, putting in something that says if that data is misused, there's big penalties and fines and things like that is one thing, but at the end of the day, it was still misused. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Anybody else before we move on? I see a hand up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arji Karafotias. I didn't want to talk, but it seems I have to. I will encourage you, and I know Jim Bertucci and Tom has been ride along with the police, I think 2-3 years ago. Mm-hmm. Please do the same and see how this system works. I did it twice, one in the evening and one midnight. I think 3-4 hours each time. And the midnight one, I saw how it worked. And I think it's safe for the police, it's safe for us. And the second time, like I said, at midnight, the night before when we were sleeping, some bad people came from Chicago. So they chased them from Chicago all the way to Round Road, came down around 53 to Round Road, came down around, they turned south Nando Heights very fast, 70, 80 miles. Because of the system, our police officers were in corners and they saw what's happening. We chased them out, and they went, I think they caught them in South Barrington, I believe. So that's a story that I know it happened the night before I did my second ride along. So maybe we need to be more educated, and that way the residents of Arlington Heights, they will be also educated for the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Archie. Okay, anyone else? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to item number E. And let's see. That was taken off by trustee Manganaro.
That's right. This one will be easy. I pulled this because this is something I just want the public to be aware of. That, and is there a representative from Miller here?
From Public Works or?
Just public. Well, I know you are. Because it happens, it's a local company. Sure. That has not done business with the village before, but is very, very well recommended, has done numerous projects of this type, and wasn't only the low bid, but it was significantly below the engineer's estimate, and the engineer's usually pretty spot on. And we did have the rest of the bids, or a lot of the rest of the bids coming in near that. So I just wanted to point this out because of the good work by Public Works in the bid process and the capabilities of Miller Pipeline, that this will cost the residents about $1,400 less per service line replacement on the residential side. And so again, kudos to Public Works. I just thought that was worth saying in public because it's buried in an agenda and I think it's significant. And Manager Reckklaus reminded me that the $2,500 credit is still available. So thank you.
Thank you, trustee Manganaro. Anything from staff on that? Nope.
Nope.
Okay. Then if anyone from the board? Anyone from the audience on item E? If not, we need a motion.
Then I would move that we award the contract to Miller Pipeline for the 26 through 28 lead service line replacement project.
Second.
Motion made by trustee Manganaro, seconded by trustee Schwingbeck. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Manganaro?
Aye.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes?
Trustee Zyck?
Yes.
Trustee Gilbert?
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Santa Maria?
Yes.
Trustee Bertucci?
Yes.
Trustee Dunnington?
Yes.
President Tinaglia?
Yes. Motion carries. All right, very good. Well, now we are done with the consent agenda. We're going to move on to item 10, which is new business.
Mayor, go ahead.
What I miss? Go ahead, trustee Bertucci.
I'm just going to suggest that we move item F up to the top of the items to discuss in new business, the appointment of Sue Thompson to the Performing Arts Metropolis Board of Directors as president, so that she doesn't have to, her and her family and anybody else here, to see her get appointed, doesn't have to sit through the rest of the items.
I was going to ask you to make that motion, so I'll take that as a motion made.
I'll second that.
Motion made by trustee Bertucci, seconded by trustee Zyck. Do I have that right? To move item F up to the top of the list under new business. Any discussion? Is this a voice vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay, we are on item F, which is the appointment of Sue Thompson to the Performing Arts Metropolis Board of Directors as president with a term ending September 16, 2027. And if I have it correctly, the motion in committee of the whole was made by trustee Bertucci. So I will call on you, trustee Bertucci.
Mayor, I'll move now, as I did earlier, to concur in the mayor's appointment of Sue Thompson to the Performing Arts Metropolis Board of Directors as president with a term ending September 16th, 2027.
Second.
Motion made by trustee Bertucci, seconded by trustee Schwingbeck. Before we take this a vote, are there any questions or comments from the board or anyone in the audience? If not, Sue, where are you? Sue, come on up. I want to introduce you to everyone. Sue Thompson is an existing member of our board who has been asked to step up and be the new president of the board. And if we could have the entire board that's here, please stand up and be recognized.
And also our executive director and our director of finance.
And your husband.
And my husband.
So thank you all for being here supporting Sue. This is a wonderful occasion, and I think I want to give you the floor to say hello and whatever you'd like to say. You're on TV.
Oh, this is my moment. No, I just want to say thank you to our whole Arlington Heights community, to our donors, to the village. We all want to work together. We want communication to be transparent, and we have a wonderful board that's in place. We've hired our executive director and our artistic director this year. So we have a pretty dynamic team that is really working together. Communication is there, and so we just invite people to come and see Metropolis, our shows, as well as our School of Performing Arts. We are going to be sending things out so that the community learns more about us and sees how active we are.
Well, that's excellent. And in the past, these are opportunities for a little bit of advertising. So if the artistic director or executive director want to come up and share what is on the agenda coming up here in the next several weeks or a couple of months, please use this moment.
Sure. We are in the middle of A Christmas Carol. We close on December 24th, so it's a great way to celebrate the holidays and get that holiday spirit. It's a new adaptation this year. Our artistic director, Johanna Mackenzie Miller, adapted it from the novel herself, which was very exciting. And we have a lot of live instruments on stage, including a bassoon and bagpipes. So lots of things to look forward to. We also have Second City coming in this week, actually. So if you want a time to laugh and have some fun, join us for Second City. And we also have a New Year's Eve performance as well. So lots of fun things. And then we start with Oliver in January. So we start rehearsing January 3rd. So right after the holidays, we come right back in and get started. So we're really excited for our season. So we hope you can join us. And like Sue said, we just invite you anytime. We want to be as transparent and have as much communication with everybody as possible. So any questions, we're here to answer. And just come and enjoy.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you to everyone for coming and supporting. It's appreciated by our whole board here and the community as well. So it's time for a vote. Do we need a voice vote or?
Voice vote's fine. Yeah.
Voice vote? Okay. All those in favor of the motion made by trustee Bertucci and seconded by trustee Schwingbeck, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? None? You win. You are.
Thank you very much.
All right. And thank you, trustee Bertucci, for moving that up for this group. Appreciate it.
All good.
Now we'll go on to item A, which is 155 East Algonquin Road, Arlington Medical Sign Variation, DC number 25-073. Is the petitioner here? Come on up to the podium. And staff, if you want to give us a quick outline here, or do we want the petitioner to go first?
I think the petitioner may like to start.
Okay, go right ahead.
Hey, Randy. Hi, Brian Carley with Bradford Allen, the head of development. And this particular request is for a variation for our marketing sign that's on top of the former Daily Herald building, as we're trying to reposition the building as a medical office building. And, it's been up there for a little bit. We're asking for a little leeway in keeping the sign up a bit longer, as we're trying to get a good anchor tenant and improve the entire site. So,
all right, very good. Staff?
All right, I'll pick it up from there. Thank you, Mr. Carley. So as he indicated, they are seeking an amendment from our sign requirements to allow for this the existing temporary signage to remain and to be larger than what is typically allowed under the code. The previous ordinance, 22-057, granted them the right to install these temporary signs for 2 years, and they were required to be removed in October of 2024. When staff contacted the petitioner about removing them, they indicated that they saw some benefit to continuing to keep them in place, and so we have been working with them to move that request forward. This is the location of the site. You're probably all fairly familiar with the old Daily Herald building located off I-90, Algonquin Road and South Arlington Heights Road. It does have an Algonquin Road address, but if you're familiar with the building, you know it does not really have any visibility from Algonquin Road or South Arlington Heights Road, and thus the visibility to I-90 is really essentially all that's currently available. This is what those banners look like if you're on I-90. So while they're large banners, they are in keeping with the size of the building and the distance for the sign. So the banners are 420 square feet and 840 square feet, whereas normally we would only allow the 32 square feet. And that this is an exhibit they provided just to show you that the visibility, you're looking at a distance of over 500 feet from which cars are viewing these banners. So while they're quite large from a vehicle standpoint, they don't seem excessively large. The Design Commission did consider this request. At the time, the request was to extend the approval for the banners by 18 months, and the Design Commission was unanimously supportive of that request. That would have required the banners be removed June 15th of 2027. At that meeting, there was some discussion about extending their request from 18 months to 24 months, just to provide them some additional time to lease up the building. That new deadline, if extended to 24 months, would be December 15th, 2027. The Design Commission indicated at the meeting that should the petitioner revise their request, they would be supportive of that additional time as well. So the petitioner did revise their request. That request is in your packet, and thus the motion this evening would be to direct staff and the village attorney to prepare final documents to amend their previous ordinance and to adjust the time request from 18 to 24 months in accordance with the documents in your packet.
Thank you, Ms. Rodman. Anything else from staff?
No.
Anything else from the petitioner?
No.
You're okay. Anyone from the board? Trustee Dunnington.
I mean, unless you have any questions about the building or anything like that.
Thank you. I'm supportive of extending this request. I just was wondering what kind of anchor tenant you're looking for.
I mean, the intent is to change the building to medical office, and so we're looking for, a sizable operator like Northwestern or, Illinois Bone and Joint, something like that. And we have, we're handling the brokerage ourselves. We do have a medical group in-house, and so we are arranging some of those showings now. We've done a little vignette inside the building that was just done this summer, and so I think it'll help show the space. And I think, we're pretty excited about it. It looks great. I think some of you might have been on a tour. I'm trying to think if we got to, we did, okay. I just wasn't sure if we got inside the building too. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I can attest that they did a really nice job doing a build-out inside one of the floors so that a potential tenant could see what it might look like, and it was nicely done.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Should I make the motion?
Did you have a question, trustee? No? Yeah, please do.
Okay. I'll make a motion to direct staff and the village attorney to prepare final documents to amend the previously approved sign variation, ordinance 22-057, all is set forth in the agenda materials for tonight's board meeting, with the revised time extension from 18 months to 24 months and a removal date of December 15th, 2027.
Second.
Motion made by trustee Dunnington, seconded by trustee Santamaria. Is there any further discussion? Anyone from the audience here on this item? I don't see any hands. Okay, you're in luck. Is this a roll call vote?
Be a voice vote or roll call.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. You're approved.
Thank you very much. You guys have a great holiday.
Thank you.
And staff, thank you for all your help.
Good
with
luck.
this, too.
I hope you get some good tenant.
Yeah.
Okay, so that takes care of item A. We'll move on to item B, which is 600 West University Drive, Tasty Breads, PC number 25-018. That's an amendment to PUD ordinance 01-057, which is an amendment to LUV ordinance 25-048 variations. Okay, that's a mouthful. And the petitioner is here.
Yes.
Introduce yourself and tell us why you're here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Budzik. I'm the architect on this project, speaking on behalf of the petitioner, Tasty Breads. We were actually in front of this board a few months ago requesting a land use variation to bring in this food production facility at this location. We're here now to request an amendment to this land use variation to allow for a freezer warehouse addition to the building. Along with that, there's a planned unit development and some associated zoning variations for the project.
All right. Staff, do you want to?
Would you like to go through your presentation, or would you like to defer to me? It's up to you.
I can go through it quickly and just,
There is a clicker right up there. This is your presentation you provided, so you can click right through it.
okay. So again, just briefly, their procedure, their process, it actually doesn't involve any baking. Basically, what they do is they mix flour, water, some ingredients, create the dough, they freeze it, package it, and then obviously store it for in their warehouse. All of these processes that we laid out, we basically discussed last time. Nothing is actually changing about the intensity of the use or anything like that. All we're dealing with today is that last piece, that storage element. Ultimately, after we've worked through the project, we've decided that actually doing a freezer warehouse addition is the most cost-effective and the fastest way to provide this storage within the facility. Just on a technical note, it's much more difficult to create a freezer warehouse within a building than it is creating it brand new outside the building. The actual addition itself is going to be located on the east side of the building. It's approximately 13,000 square feet, 40 feet tall. We've been working very closely with staff, with the fire department, civil engineering to make sure we comply with their requirements for stormwater detention and for fire access around the building. This process is vital to their business. It's the last piece to what they do here. They do have two other locations, one in Northbrook and Franklin Park. They all have the same function within them. The other aspect of this is the planned unit development amendment. The property directly to the east is part of a planned unit development with this property, the University Park Plan Development. Any sort of expansion to the property requires this planned unit development. We have notified the property owners. They have no objection. As you can see in the photo here, it's basically improved as a parking lot and used as fleet storage for Arlington Heights Ford. The addition itself has also gone through the design commission, received unanimous approval there. I believe one of the trustees did have a question about the water usage for the facility. So this is actually a relatively low intensity water usage. Unlike other food production facilities, there isn't heavy wash downs, which is really the majority of your water. The actual water being used in the process is the equivalent of about 2,500, 3,000 gallons a month, which is less than an average household uses. So significantly low given the size of the building. There are two variations that we're requesting as well. One is reduction in the parking from 134 spaces to 82 spaces. This is primarily a result of how the parking is actually calculated in the zoning ordinance and not reflective of what they're intending to use here. So they will have a total number of employees per shift of 75 at this location at full capacity, and virtually no other office staff here. All of their other office staff will be at their Northbrook or Franklin Park facility. If you just take into account their production employees, they need approximately 30, by the ordinance, they need 38 spaces. In reality, they need about 50 spaces, and they have 82 spaces available here. The reason why the zoning ordinance requires so many is there's a lot of office space within the building. Office space is just counted towards parking, just purely on the square footage of that office space and not reflective of actually how many employees will be used there. So that's the reason why there's such a large reduction in the parking requested here. And just as a little bit of a context, even if you were to account for all the existing parking spaces that we have here, we could accommodate up to 7,000 square feet of office space along with the production employees. Tasty Breads has less than 4,000 square feet in all of their other facilities. So they could literally move all of their office staff here and they would still have sufficient parking. The last item is a request to reduce the east side setback from 50 feet to 27 feet. This is a result of varying interpretations over the years on how this setback should be defined. The village has decided that they're going to now consistently define it as 50 feet in this circumstance. This was not how it was communicated to us originally, hence the reason for designing it this way. But we would still be compliant. We would have been compliant with what was the previously considered 25-foot side setback. With that, I'm happy to answer.
Are there additional slides, or is this the last
Yep.
slide?
Sorry. So again, just briefly, so here you can see the landscape plan along with the location of the freezer warehouse addition on the east side of the building. The, excuse me, the floor plan of the building showing again, the freezer warehouse addition and the area for, within the building for the 2 production lines. They are proposing 2 production lines right now with room for 2 additional production lines. The freezer warehouse has been designed with that future production capacity in mind. And here you can see more detailed plan of the production lines and building elevations. And essentially what I just discussed right now.
Okay. Maybe we'll let Director Rodman take it from here and share any specific details that we need to know.
Okay, the petitioner has covered a lot of the requests, so I will move through staff's presentation quickly, try not to repeat. So as he indicated, the property is 4.5 acres. They were approved by the village board in August of this year for the land use variation to allow the food production. It is in line with what the comprehensive plan designates for the property. The specific relief they're requesting is an amendment to the PUD for that 13,000 square foot freezer addition, an amendment to that previously approved land use variation because by code they're expanding the use by expanding the footprint of the building. And then those variations, as he indicated, are from the side yard setback to reduce that to 27.14 feet from 50, and then the reduction in the parking from 134 to 82 spaces. This is a visual you've already seen in terms of the side yard encroachment. And then these are some colored visuals of the proposed addition. As he mentioned, the Design Commission did recommend unanimous approval of this design. They felt they did a nice job in matching the exterior facade of the existing building. They are removing some parking in order to accommodate this addition. There's parking you can see to the east of the building and to the north. That parking is being removed in order to accommodate a fire lane, because due to the height of the addition, they need a 26-foot wide fire lane for full fire access to the building. So they are accommodating that, and the fire department has approved the proposed plan for that. So the Plan Commission did consider this request. They also recommended approval of the amendments and the variations. They did have a few conditions they placed upon their recommendation. They were conditions related to the existing ordinance, those looking for those conditions that are applicable to remain in effect, wanted to ensure that going forward the petitioner provides screening for any additional rooftop mechanicals that would be placed on top of the freezer addition. There were 2 conditions related to updating floor plans and making it apparent in those plans that they would not be utilizing that second floor space for office. They have met both of those conditions, so that's why you see those removed up here. And then, of course, our standard condition about complying with all federal, state, and village regulations. So staff is supportive of this request, so is the Site Development Committee as well. We feel that they are able to meet all of the requirements of the code, and thus, for the board this evening, I will pause here and make a note that because of the timing of our board agendas and some of the other items we've had on the agenda, we moved Tasty Bread from the December 1st meeting to this meeting, and so because of that, we are asking the board to both consider this item this evening as well as also vote on the ordinance that has been included in your packet. I know we don't typically do that, but we're trying to move the petitioner forward as expeditiously as possible. So the motion that is before you this evening is actually a motion to adopt an ordinance approving an amendment to PUD Ordinance 0157 and an amendment to Land Use Variation Ordinance 25048 and the requested variations for 600 West University Drive as set forth in your agenda materials.
All right, so we'll do this with two votes? Nope.
Actually, there's no vote required for the first item.
No vote required.
They're listed as separate agenda items for consideration and adoption, but If the board is prepared to adopt the ordinance, there's no other motion you need to entertain but that which is on the screen.
All right, very good then. So for items B and C together, does anyone on the board have any questions for this petitioner?
I'd be happy to make a motion.
Go right ahead.
I would move to adopt an ordinance approving an amendment to the PUD ordinance 01-057 and an amendment to the LUV ordinance 25048 and variations for 600 West University Drive, Tasty Breads as set forth in the agenda materials for tonight's board meeting.
Okay, motion made by trustee Schwingbeck, seconded by trustee Manganaro. Further questions, comments? Trustee Bertucci.
Thank you. Well, I'm certainly in favor of this. Can we get the parking amounts there again that you had? Thank you. So, Emily and Randy, did you see Commissioner Dawson's comments about our parking regulations and her opinion that we needed to look at these because it seems like they're, I don't know if she used the word outdated, but that they need to be reviewed because so often, as if they're maybe a little bit too strict, so often so many businesses come in, and this is quite a reduction, but certainly a reduction that's granted, but meaning that maybe there's nothing that the petitioner did, but do we need to do something to avoid, or are our parking requirements out of line?
So yes, I am familiar with the comments. I did review the minutes, and staff will be moving forward in the coming months with a variety of amendments to the village code. So this is one of the items that's on our list to investigate and revisit, depending on the type of use.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you guys were on that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on the board? Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments that want to be addressed for this petition? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second already. And again, a voice vote is fine.
On the ordinance, you just take a roll call.
I miss it every time.
Not every time, Mayor. Most of the time, you got it right.
Maggie, please.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Yes.
Trustee Manganaro.
Aye.
Trustee LaBedz.
Yes.
Trustee Santa Maria. Yes. Trustee Bertucci.
Yes.
Trustee Gilbert.
Yes.
Trustee Zyck.
Yes.
Trustee Dunnington.
Yes.
President Tinaglia.
Yes. Motion carries. You're approved. Good luck to you and your team. Hope it all goes swimmingly and smoothly over the next several months. All right. Next is item D, if I have this correctly. Is it D and E together again, or no?
Yep.
It is. 125 South Wilkie Road, Linden Aura Massage, PC 25-021. It's a land use variation, again, to allow a massage establishment in the B1 district. And E is an ordinance approving a land use variation. Is this the same process that we just went through before?
Yes.
For expediting the process here? Okay, I think we know the drill. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us why you're here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carina. I'm the attorney for the applicant. We are here asking for a variation for a massage establishment at the multi-tenant office building at 125 South Wilkie Road. The building is over 2,600 square feet, but the location in question is 750 square feet that is going to be used for a massage establishment. There are there's 475 parking spaces that are shared amongst different office tenants. There's also other medical office uses established there. The petitioner is an IDFPR licensed massage therapist. She's extremely experienced. This is going to be her first business going on her own. We've submitted a floor plan. We've been working with staff quite extensively on the details. There's going to be 2 treatment rooms, but she will be the only employee at the 750 square foot office used for a massage establishment. Potentially at some point she may add like a part-time employee, but this is more of like establishing, the intention is to establish a place for her business for herself. And the hours of operation will be between 9 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. We've worked with staff. I believe we have a recommendation from staff. We've gone before the Plan Commission, have a recommendation there, and we are here before you tonight asking for approval as well.
All right. Very good. Dr.
Okay.
Rodman?
Our petitioners are excellent this evening at making their case, so I'll move quickly through this. Again, the property address is 125 South Wilkie Road. This is Unit 200J. The existing zoning is B1, and massage establishments are not allowed by right, as you're familiar with, in any of our zoning districts, and so they do require a land use variation. That's the request before you. No other variations are being requested this evening. This is an aerial of the site, just to give you an understanding. All three of these buildings you see here, all three properties are owned by the same property owner. So as the petitioner indicated, it's a 750 square foot space, only one employee. She reviewed the hours of operation, which essentially are by appointment only, and then did want to note that this particular use requires 3 parking spaces. This is a visual that illustrates for you how many parking spaces are located on each of the 3 parcels. Again, parcels are all owned by the same property owner, so there is essentially quite a bit of shared parking in the complex right now. On the parcel that this particular use is located, there are 52 spaces available. Overall, when you look at the amount of spaces that are required for that particular building, given the other uses in the building, there would be a parking deficit of 39 spaces. But again, they share these spaces across the 3 properties. So all of the property owners have access to the 475 total spaces. This is a survey of the parking that's available. So while they did not submit a full parking study, we did ask them to go out and conduct a survey of the site at 3 separate times to see how many spaces were available on that particular parcel on which they are located. And you can see that even at the peak time, which looks like it was November 3rd at 10 a.m., there were still 18 spaces open. So parking appears to be more than adequate for the proposed use. As she indicated, the Plan Commission did recommend approval of the land use variation. There were a few conditions tied to that. One, of course, is that she needs to provide a copy of her license from IDPR. The third and fourth conditions are pretty standard conditions for land use variations. I would like to draw your attention to that second condition, which is referencing the property owner, Imperial Realty Company. So the Plan Commission was recommending that we require the petitioner to obtain proof of cross-access parking arrangements so that should in the future the property owner sell off any of these parcels, we could be ensured that adequate parking would remain on the site. While staff agrees that that is ideal to have those cross-access in place, we think that that's a rather large burden to ask this particular petitioner to secure. So we are recommending to the board that that particular condition be removed, but staff has made note of it, and should there be changes to the site in the future, we would certainly pursue that with the property owner. Again, we just feel that it's overly burdensome for a business of this size to have to pursue that in order to be able to operate their business. So the motion before the board this evening, again, as with the previous item, is to approve an ordinance as set forth in the agenda materials for tonight, granting the requested land use variation to allow the massage establishment in the B1 district.
Thank you, Ms. Rodman. Any additional thoughts from the petitioner? Is that it?
Yeah, just on that last point, considering the scope of the use and the intensity of the use and the fact that it's my client's first business, we are asking that recommended condition be removed. She's very eager to open the establishment. She has already submitted her license application, and she's paying the landlord. She's just eager to get up and running. And if that condition is included in the ordinance, then it's going to take months of us to flesh out the details and work out either an easement or some other type of an agreement that covers not just her, but other users of the property. And there's quite a bit of users.
Only 3 parking spaces are required?
For this use, correct?
Not 30, 3.
3. Did I say
Okay.
30?
that answers my question. No, I'm just
Okay.
emphasizing the fact that this is for 3 parking spaces and not 30.
Correct.
Okay. Questions from the board? Anyone? Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Rob.
Go ahead.
I might be asking the same thing you're going to ask. In the minutes from the Plan Commission meeting, Commissioner Dawson raised the point that we don't allow massage therapy clinics by right. And I know this goes back many, many years, having myself been around many years and understand why this all came about. But it appears that in the minutes that Rachel Heitzman, and if I said that
Heitzman,
correctly, did mention that when Commissioner Dawson raised this as, is this something we really want to continue doing, that it is something you're looking into?
Yes, this is another item on our list. So it's not unusual for massage establishments to be special uses in communities because of some of the historical challenges with these uses. So while staff hasn't formulated what our recommended language would be, it's likely that we will still suggest that it be a special use, but perhaps implement some sort of administrative approval where there is an application that staff could review and then potentially approve versus taking them through the full commission process. Obviously, any of those amendments would come to the village board, so you would have the opportunity to weigh in on that process ultimately before an administrative approval is put in place.
Of course, yeah. I think it's probably, whether or not, however we decide to go, it's probably not a bad thing to revisit. There are more and more massage therapy practices that are, that we have approved recently, in recent years. So I do think that it's a good thing to, it's always a good thing to review things after a while that have been around for a long time. That's all I have
Okay,
to say,
thank you,
but I
Trustee
am in
LaBedz.
favor.
Bertucci.
Actually, Robin, we're right there at the same subject. So also being around town for quite a while and watching things happen, we know we have very professional, medically helping individuals with massage, and that is great. Over the years, we've also had some unprofessional ones that we've had to shut down. And even within the last couple of years or so. But anyways, long story short, do we do a background check of the individual that is going to be doing the massage?
I don't know that we do that internally, but I imagine the Illinois Department of Professional Regulation has certain standards that these therapists are required to adhere to. I'm not familiar with the specifics of their process, though.
Go ahead, Brian.
I was going to say, we do not. One of the unique things with massage parlors is they are licensed at the state level. And so there is a degree of oversight there, but it's not something that the village is involved in. So our lever or button in terms of regulating their behavior, aside from if there anything criminal happens, obviously, then the police can get involved, is the special use process.
Okay. So we continue to, I'm 100% in agreement with Robin and Commissioner Dawson to be open-minded and welcome the professionals. But at the same time, just be careful. And I think that might have been where Sue Dawson and Robin were going, so I agree with that.
Okay. Anyone else on the board? Questions,
If I
thoughts?
can just note one more thing, there is a condition as part of the recommendation that the petitioner provide licensure as part of the business licensing process, and I think that's when they go to renew as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Anyone from the audience that has questions for this project? No hands? Okay.
I would make the motion then.
Go right ahead.
I would move to approve an ordinance as set forth in the agenda materials for tonight's board meeting, granting a land use variation to allow a massage establishment in the B1 district.
Motion made by Trustee LaBedz and seconded by Trustee Dunnington. Any further discussion from anyone? And is this covering both items now, then?
Yes.
Okay.
Same as
And
last
so
one.
this will be a roll call vote again.
Correct, Mayor.
I got it. Melissa, please. Or
Trustee
Maggie.
LaBedz?
Maggie, please.
Yes.
Trustee Dunnington?
Yes.
Trustee Manganaro?
Aye.
Trustee Gilbert?
Yes.
Trustee Zyck?
Yes.
Trustee Santa Maria?
Yes.
Trustee Bertucci?
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes?
President Tinaglia?
Yes. Okay, your motion carries, you're approved. Good luck. Now you don't have to wait to get that certificate from the parking, or hopefully they can open and get in business quickly.
They're very eager. Thank you kindly.
Okay, good luck. All right, I don't have anything else on the agenda here. The next item would be a closed session. Is there any report from the village manager?
No report from the village manager, but, staff would respectfully request that the board enter into closed session per 5 ILCS 120/2C11. Litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the village has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the board finds that an action is probable or imminent. And for approval of the minutes.
All right, is there a motion so made from anyone?
So moved.
Trustee LaBedz?
Second.
Second by trustee Bertucci. Before we take that vote, I want to take 1 second to wish since this is our last official meeting before the holiday season, tomorrow night I'll be at North School Park lighting menorah with that faith, and I know there's lots of celebrations set up for the entire community all around, so I want to wish everyone on the board, and everyone at home, everyone in the audience a healthy and safe holiday celebration over the next coming weeks, and we'll see you back here after New Year's, correct? So I think we can extend that to New Year's as well. Safe and happy New Year's celebration to everyone. Now we'll do the vote.
Trustee LaBedz?
Yes.
Trustee Bertucci?
Yes.
Trustee Dunnington?
Yes.
Trustee Santa Maria?
Yes.
Trustee Gilbert?
Yes.
Trustee Manganaro?
Aye.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes.
Trustee Zyck?
Yes.
President Tinaglia?
Yes. Okay, we are adjourned into closed session. Actually, we're not adjourned. We're moving into closed session, and we will not be reporting out. Thank you, everyone.